Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case and the theory of, was any evidence destroyed, buried, burnt? We got a new photo which has emerged in recent time from the party supposedly. I'm going to be presenting it to you today because it links on to the theory, or at least just the theme, and trying to understand what's within the photo itself. It's quite interesting. We're going to compare and contrast with other screenshots from the party footage, just to look for any indications of what may have taken place at a point, if there was any opportunities, any other items in the background that need to be identified, etc. Welcome to those that are currently here in this live premiere. Share your thoughts and reactions in the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen. And by the end of this video, if your opinion has changed, you got a new theory, whether you agree or not, or you got questions, leave a comment down below under this video and I can respond back later. You'll also find a pinned message by me with additional links if you do want to support this channel. And if you want to catch up on recent videos by me, if you just go to the top right corner of the screen where the eye symbol is, click on that, and then you get the drop down box with the full playlist too. So the way we'll go about things today, we'll look at the latest new party photo, which comes across as new for me and possibly for you, and being displayed on this channel. Analyze it, maybe edit it, we'll see, and then compare contrast with the other stuff, and if need be, could even do the maps. Let's begin. So here is the photo. Credit to the individual that passed it on. Just want to give a bit of a disclosure or a heads up before people start questioning. The ones that passed it on said that this is a party photo from the party. As for the day it occurred on, I don't know personally, but maybe I'll get a response later, and if not, we can always fill it in the comment section down below. Arguably, some people could say, but do we really know this is from the party or a previous one, or it could be something completely random like that fight video? The way I see it is, this is just a photo or a screenshot from maybe footage, you'd think, because you see the blur of the flame possibly, but in terms of faking it or it not being relevant to the case, I don't see the point because it's just a photo of a fire. There's not much to it on the surface level, but you can still tie it in with the theme of burning evidence. Am I saying that the title of this video correlates directly to this specific photo? Not exactly, but something like this could have occurred later or the following day if it came to Noah Presgrove's personal possessions. Put aside the golf clubs, what about Noah's hat, wallet, shirt, and other Adidas shoe? They've not been returned back to the parents, family, friends, etc. Brother, it hasn't. The only thing that was returned back was Noah's black shorts, but the other key items are nowhere to be seen. How do they go missing? If they're at a party and there's other party goers there that have their own items, who takes it upon themselves to take Noah's? And where do they place them? And what's the point behind it? You look back to the highway. Oh, if it really was a hit and run, then why would certain clothing be missing from the scene? Just like the counterpoint to Jack Newton's claim of there was only one shoe present, even though Caden Pressey saw that there was two shoes, mismatched ones. The autopsy report said the same thing. The news articles said the same thing. So when you got missing items from a scene or from a person, whether they've been handed about, distributed elsewhere, buried or disposed of, it does come across as a little bit dodgy and you start questioning it, just like the Dylan Rounds case when, okay, he ended up being buried and killed, but what happened to his wallet? Was that ever found? What happened to those like bin bags which supposedly had evidence within from the Grangeshed property? Things like that shouldn't have been adjusted in the moment or later, and for this case it's probably likely in the moment on the same day or the following day, possibly getting rid of stuff and moving it on. Now the counterpoint could be, oh well, it's just like a memento to serve items out, but at the end of the day, shouldn't Noah's family, friends, close ones, by blood, have the right to take responsibility and control of that area and not just other partygoers just randomly throwing it about here and there? But I just wanted to give a little heads up behind this. So I don't think there would be any need to fake this photo or anything like that. We're going to compare the ground quality and see if it compares to anything in the party footage. I don't know if this has been enhanced or not, because it is a little bit grainy and the contrast is increased, but nevertheless, whilst I'm narrating over this, I'm sure some people would like a campfire sound of crackling and popping. Personally, I don't know if I've got a video of that on my phone, but if I did, I'll add it as audio music right now, or before, we'll just say. But I just want to take a look at the photo itself. You can let me know what you see, and I don't just mean a fire, but what's present about. Does anything stand out to you? Anything look a little bit out of place? First of all, for me, the ground looks different. So that's something you've got to take in mind, the texture. It's not exactly grass. It looks quite dirty, dry soil, possibly. I don't really see much grass. I'll try and zoom in if it will allow me to, without getting too close. So at the bottom where the fire is, I think, well, it looks like you may have a log, some twigs, what you would expect when starting a fire. Loose chippings out and about, maybe the odd little stone. Was there anything within that fire though being burned, any material, any cloth, leather, wallet? Doesn't appear to be the case. And I know some people could say, well, why would someone take a photo of themselves disposing of evidence? I mean, it wouldn't be that hard or shocking to believe when supposedly there is other footage out there of things happening and the recklessness of it. So there's that. But to me, the fire itself looks relatively normal, unless you notice something within it or any ash, anything popping out. That's unusual. Then the person on the right-hand side, who appears to possibly be wearing shorts, you'd hope so, wearing no shirt. As for hat, possibly it's theirs, that's on the ground. Shoe-wise, appears to be like a whitish shoe. Now, it said that Noah had Adidas shoes at the party. What colour were they? If they were black, then likely this is not Noah in the background shot of the photo. So who else could it be? They look kind of skinny in a way. Their legs and calves are exposed. I'm sure Miriam's heartbeat is beating a little bit faster now, more than ever. On the left-hand side, kind of interesting, you've got a baseball cap, which is white. Doesn't look like Noah's hat, where we're talking about in the presence of the party when Noah was alive, or afterwards when his hat went missing. That doesn't look like Noah's hat. But could it be Jack's? What colour or what pattern was Jack's hat? That was another little mystery, because he said to his father via text at around 5:53 that someone messed with his hat at the party. What does that exactly mean? Taken, stolen, disposed of? What would be the need of that? And to be honest, I don't know if we have questioned it before, but I'll bring it up anyway. Whilst we can look at Noah's personal possessions, items, clothing, and where they ended up in the mystery about it, was there any clothing or personal possessions that went missing or disposed of from any of the party goers? Top of my head would be Jack Newton and his baseball cap. Whatever happened with that? Disappeared. Any other items of clothing? I mean, if you're going to refer to the white shorts of Jack's, which Noah supposedly borrowed, even though Kane and Pressey clearly saw that there was black shorts at the highway, an alternative narrative by Jack. I mean, Jack got those, or was able to find those white shorts regardless, right, from the story of how we've heard of it. Oh, they're at the highway, yeah, supposedly, maybe replaced, taking the black ones away, placing them for the white ones. Very dodgy, but still. Any other items, possessions, or clothing? I know you could say mobile phones, data and stuff wiped, factory reset, lost. But what about personal clothing and items similar to Noah? Anything got rid of? And why would anyone do that? I mean, if there was blood stains, blood splatter marks on shirts, jeans, tops, shorts, whatever, instead of washing it. You know, things like that. Would you even be able to check the water bill or water reading, as in how much units were used on that day, that night, or the following day? If during that first week their water bills, electricity bills were really high, high maintenance and usage. You could say more activity than ever, as in maybe more cleaning done and cleaning evidence. That's another way you could look at it. But then again, when you look at, personal stuff like that, it's probably a bit touchy and not possible. But I just thought I'd throw it in there. But those shoes, they appear to be laced ones. The individual is wearing a pair of matching shoes. The shorts do look dark, but then again, it is dark here, this photo, so you could argue and say this is night time, possibly. Would it be Saturday night, Sunday night? One or two, going into early Monday morning. This over here on the left-hand side, besides the cap, there's like a yellow box, but the size of it is interesting. Honestly, I don't know what that is. The first thing that came to my mind was like an industrial battery pack, and that's just because of the colour of it and the shaping. There appears to be some like black outline too. It could really be anything. I want to know your thoughts. I don't know if there'd be any cans laying about with fuel or whatever you call it in America to pour on the ground to maybe ignite a fire quicker. I know it can be a bit reckless that if you do it wrong, but if people are having a party, who knows? Now, why would you be having a fire? Because why not, I guess. But I guess with a dry ground, you've got to be careful that the fire doesn't spread. And no, don't worry, I'm not health and safety, not all about that, don't worry. But do we need to enhance it anymore? I mean, I guess there's no harm in doing it if I just get on with it now. Just see what I can do. I don't think I'd do this often in this case. So, whilst we make the flame a lot brighter, we also expose the colouring of what's laying about. I mean, just by doing that, you can see that weird black marking in the flame, but that's probably nothing, in terms of big of a deal. But, sometimes not. I mean, like if you saw a person in a fire, you can make out the outline of him. It can be quite dark and black. If there was any objects being burnt. I don't know if there's like a big plank of wood on the side resting diagonally, because I can see like a black outline. I don't know if anyone else can on the left-hand side. See if I can make it any clearer. Something like that. It does look like a big plank, a board. But it wouldn't be odd at all. I'm sure someone somewhere will be thinking, oh my god, is Warlike Ref actually analysing a fire? God, he must be fun at a party and round a campfire, getting his measuring stick out, tape measure, get the thermometer and say, actually, my name's Warlike Karen and I think your fire is a little bit too hot. You need to cool it down and put some ice on or I'll report you to authorities. No, don't worry. It's not that extreme. But I can clearly see that there is like a black outline. It's kind of weird. Can you see? There. But I don't know what it's resting on. You think it would just flop down if it wasn't leaning against something. I just wanted to see if I could like reveal anything in the background, any shadows, anything like that. And to be honest, it doesn't seem to be the case. But of course, if you notice anything that stands out, you can always leave a comment down below. Granted, there's a chance that maybe someone has already edited this one. I can't remember which version I got a hold of, the edited one or not, but sometimes making it a bit grainier, the texture, just to see things. Yeah, it makes it a lot clearer now. There's a lot of bits and bobs at the bottom near around the fire, wood that could have been collected nearby. Would this have happened on the front or backyard? Who knows? What we're going to do now is we're going to look at some of the other party footage, screenshots, to see if there's anything in the background, to see if we can match it up with the texture or the ground of what we see here as to whether possible fire could have taken place. And whilst this has been the highway, just wanted to refer to it briefly that, mismatched shoes found here, but Noah's other shoe, his own, the Adidas one, must have been left at the party. It should have remained there, shouldn't it? Where else would it have gone? And why would it have left if Noah left it at the party house? So that's one of the items. The shirt not on Noah at the time here, nor at the party, but he supposedly took one down with him to the party. The cap, the hat, well, we clearly saw him wearing that. But in terms of the necklace, found broken in pieces at the scene here. I can't remember which circle it was highlighted in, but it was on the ground nearby. Was it the full necklace chain? I'm not too sure, but still. The fact you've got a chain or a necklace, which could be of some value, or you wanted to get rid of it as possible disposing of evidence, you could put it into a fire possibly if it's hot enough and it could melt. But, you know, I said, I'm not saying that this fire is suspicious, but I'm talking about the theme. It creates the theory of a possible way of disposing evidence. Hopefully people understand that. So when looking here, this is 2024 imagery, well, footage, screenshots of an individual passing on by near to the party house property. And whilst on the left-hand side near to the barn and beyond, you can see Finnish grass. You also see the dirt road just in front where it's the light brown colour. Over that way, I believe, is more grass. Can you see that? So on the ground, it's lightly coloured, dusted. Does that type of ground terrain quality match up with what we see in the fire footage? To be honest, it looks like I can see bits of grass. I can see a little bit of greenery there, unless it's just the visual. But still, this looks a little bit more off-road. It doesn't look like you'd be doing it in the middle of a dirt road, such as the one what you use to get down to the place. As for the backyard, that tends to be more so grass. So it's interesting to try and figure out where this fire took place. Was it on the property or not? Said it was at the party, so you'd think it's on the property site, but whereabout exactly? So you got that ground there, kind of matches the texturing, the crossover with the grass and the ruggedness, but it looks too flat, that ground there. The other one looks a little bit disturbed. Now, as for this photo here, obviously it doesn't link, but I've just seen, was there any other items of interest along the way which showed up? Now, previously said about what's that on the ground, is that a pool of water or so because of the shininess, but it's maybe some hardboard, some objects on the ground, just dumped. Then you got that guy sat on whatever that is, which was a reference made by some and mentioned on Facebook, I guess, in recent time. I don't really know how significant that is, but are there any items? Does it look like there's any fires? I mean, even if you saw in the background, there's like a glow or some kind of reflection flickering, but not from here at least. But if you do notice anything else odd, feel free to drop a comment. Even here, this is grassy. Dry, but greenery, slight, not pure brown, a bit rough and rugged. Would you say that ground texture matches that fire photo or not? Where would you pinpoint the fire? Where do you think it took place on the property? We know it's definitely outside. It was dark, just happens to be dark here too. That's at least consistent. I mean, to be fair, if you wondered what that was, that's either a brick or a breeze block, an item of opportunity if it was to be used as a murder weapon. Down the side of the barn area, I'm not sure what that is. Is it scrap metal or so? Resources. Lamp there, very bright. Don't know what that is. That looks like some kind of wire, circular, chain, wire, string. Maybe it's nothing that big. But when we look here at that texturing, I know it's blurry, but it looks a little bit more like the type of texturing from the fire photo. It's a bit more brownish, so it could have even happened in this area. So if I just try and enhance this image possibly without doing too much. Something like that, contrast. Don't be changing it too much about. So you see some greenery, but it's consistent with some brown dirt too. So I think that's worth highlighting. Moving on, this is the patio area where it'll be concrete the ground. But you know what stood out to me? I mean, that guy with the white shirt that is stood like a scarecrow. Has he got a pole up his backside or something? He stood very still. But then again, I do too. You see in the background, you've got the barn area. The doors are clearly open. I think it slides up and down. What is it used for? Is there much to talk about? I've not seen enough references about it personally. But you know what really stood out to me, and I've only just noticed it now, is what the hell is that behind the guy holding that white object? What the hell is that yellowy thing? It's quite big in size, and I'm sure I saw a light on it, or just behind it. Does anyone know? It looks like some kind of small vehicle. Is it a quad bike of some sort? What's it doing on the patio? It's yellow and black. Ground-wise, no, it's not consistent. That white object's on the ground, so that's consistent, very near to the steps of the porchway. But does anyone know what that is? I think we should edit it and see if I can enhance it any more. Do it about there. I do find analysing photo and media more fun, but it's not always possible. It depends what footage is present. Just imagine what it would have been like if there was proper CCTV footage, camera where you could be looking out for all kinds of things and possibilities. Contrast-wise, brightness. It's just that glare from in the background of that lamppost really messes it up, to be honest. Saturation. Don't really want to be messing too much with the actual colours. Vibrancy. Warmth, tint, sharpness. Yeah, something like that. Sharpness really does help in some of this footage. Now, whilst we saw the fire photo, there was a yellowy object. It was a lot smaller in size compared to that back there. I mean, is it a lawnmower? Is it some kind of quad bike? I don't know. I mean, if it was, is anyone on it? It's hard to tell. It looks like there could be someone bent down. I could be wrong, but it just appears to look like a person, and I'm not sure if anyone else sees it, a person with like blackish hair, almost looks like a bit of an afro, with a shirt, with their leg on the side, reaching forwards with their arm by the side of the object. I just don't know why it is. It doesn't look like a side-by-side. It looks too small for that. I just wanted to point it out because it's the first time noticing it. Definition, what does that do? Not too much. Noise reduction, vignette. Don't really need vignette. Was there any other settings that needed to be done? The highlight one is a big no, in my opinion. Any exposure? Yeah, too much. Sometimes you just do the lighting to isolate it. So, still interesting. When you look at it zoomed out, I mean, I know you've got vehicles over there parked on the side. That's kind of at the front of the house as you would expect, but this is literally on the porchway. And the more I look at it, it does literally look like a person kind of crouching by the side of it, reaching for it. And it only appears to be there in that shot because I'm sure on the Saturday when Shane D slapped Noah, that object wasn't there. And even when Monday morning at 1:30 a.m. when Caden recorded Brylan slapping Noah and the camera panned about, you didn't see that object or item there. Whether it comes from the party house, the shed in the background, or someone brought it on down, I don't know what it'd be used for personally. Well, it was worth pointing out. Was there any shadows? Not really. What about this here? And I'm not talking about the guy's face. But then again, being honest, looking at it, baseball cap, just so happens to be white. Does that baseball cap look anything like what we see? Give me a second. What we see here? There's a possibility. No guarantee, but it's possible. Now, there was writing or a logo on the front of it, but this is a side profile, so it's limited to what we can see. There was more than one partygoer who were wearing baseball caps or maybe the odd cowboy hat. So we've got to take that into consideration too. But if it was Brylan, that's probably not Brylan there crouching down, because Brylan appeared to be wearing jeans, if I'm correct in saying, and a shirt. But still. Now, okay, Noah, white cap there, but I'm sure it's not all white. There's like a colour tone to it. There's Brylan Sweat with his white cap on, and to be honest, from the side profile, it's just white. So it kind of matches what you see here. Appears to be similar. I'm not saying it's the same, but it's similar. So you compare, you contrast, notice some things along the way. Other people wearing caps, but they appear to be darker, black. There's Brian. As for the background, couldn't quite work what was back there. It's very blurry. There appears to be some kind of object, but different to what we saw looking the other way. Possibly edit briefly, if possible. Brilliance, something like that. Exposure, no. Highlight, shadows. Let me know in the comments if you like this type of stuff where we try and reveal things within photos which may be hard to see, and possibly revealing interesting stuff along the way. Yeah, it's still blurry. It's the best still screenshot I could get at the time. And that appears to be it for that. What we can also do on the map is just get an idea of the location to check for the ground texture and quality, because whilst my theory is about items, possessions, evidence possibly being destroyed, burnt, there are other ways to do it as well. Dumped, buried in the ground, chucked in water, a pond. You know, you apply it to the Dylan Rounds case, it applied there to an extent. You've got a pond area here. Depends whose land it is, because if it's not yours, you could be trespassing and you could get caught. I don't know if there'd be any cameras, but I have referred to this spot previously. It just so happens to be somewhat in parallel to where Noah's body was found. So, if there was anything missing from the highway, could it have been chucked aside across from the road area and put into the water? That's just a suggestion. You can always let me know what you think. But we need to head back to the party place. Here. So, it's important to acknowledge that's why you get this property, this land. Green fields, very luscious in colour, but it wasn't always like this, because if you used to look at some more outdated street view imagery, which isn't possible to do now unless you're on Google Earth Pro, where you go back in time. When I was first covering this case and I was on Google Earth, it was before June of 2024, so it was a bit more outdated, the imagery, but it didn't show all the green fields. It was a lot browner, drier, you know, a lighter colour, not as dark. So it could be anywhere within a field. I mean, in terms of the time of the month, that will play a role in terms of crops and the vegetation levels, the colouring of it all. So it could be like a needle in a haystack trying to pinpoint that one burn site, burn spot. But furthermore, if it was actually conducted at the time, shortly afterwards, you'd know when there's been a fresh fire somewhere. You could feel the warmth from the pit, the wood where it's been burnt. You'd probably visibly see where there's been a fire. It was a ground one on the dirt. It wasn't in a burn barrel, and that's one thing I was trying to look at with this case. Was there any burn barrels? And it's probably not possible here, because I did look and I didn't really see anything. But I don't know why, I just feel like they would have a burn barrel, or just a barrel which could have items placed in, and if you wanted to set fire you could. Could be stored in the house, or more so in the barn. I'm thinking of rural areas. I'm thinking of the Dylan Rounds case. There was clearly a burn barrel there, and it remained there. It was seen on satellite imagery and even on ground footage, but things did get hands on there. Not so much in this case. I mean, I've not seen any footage, police footage, body cam footage from the family walking down on site to this property and looking about. But then again, Noah wasn't a missing individual. If he was missing, the chances of searching about, getting more hands-on around the property would be a lot higher. And if there was a bit of corruption too and frustration, there'd probably be higher chances of people protesting outside of the building or near to the road. So sometimes, as bad as it may sound, you could have wished that this case was a missing person murder case than just a murder mystery type of thing. It's not fully confirmed, is it, on the official autopsy as for cause of death and time of death. But a missing person case would yield more searching and maybe more of a right or more of a will for the family to get hands on in the area. Whereas in this case, found on the highway, and as for the people who may or may not be responsible, not all will live in this particular area, so it's more spread out, it's not as focused or concentrated. So just little points along the way. The ground, the texturing, farmland, rural, any barrels here, but we wouldn't really be looking for that. Collections of wood. I mean, you got a forest there, you got enough wood to have a fire long enough. These areas here where it's slightly different, well, not slightly, very different in colour, contrasting from green to brown. Patchy areas where it's a bit muddy, not quite visually clear. This here too. Locations, spots like this on land of the property or at least nearby, could any items have been taken to these spots? Now, I actually saw a comment somewhere, just to be very brief, that at the memorial site where the cross was placed by Jack Newton, supposedly, something could have been buried under that ground near to the highway. How true is that? I don't know. It's probably a place you wouldn't think to start digging up because it's like an obvious spot or just a familiar location, as in this is where Noah was found dead and this is the place to honour and remember him and do nothing more. Maybe mow the grass but not dig underneath. But I just don't think people would be digging about at a time when it's on the highway where it's so exposed publicly. I mean, when you look here at this land or further back down this way, it's pretty open to the highway. But then again, from certain angles, I think there is a blind spot because of some of the trees closer to the highway, the verges, the bushes. It can block it out. And I believe that a person who was driving down the highway said that from a certain angle or distance, they couldn't make out the party house. So that's worth taking in mind. But then again, if it is dark, nighttime, early hours of the morning, and you're on property, you're having a fire, anyone driving by would clearly see you. You'd be like a beacon. Maybe you don't stand out really clear, but you'll definitely see that light and possibly flickering. As for the smell of smoke, possibly it depends how strong it is and where the breeze will take the smoke, blow upwards, downwards towards any houses that are nearby. I know I haven't really got directly into the theory yet, but I just still wanted to compare and contrast the land. That's a tree there, in case you're wondering. Mainly green. But you got to take in mind it can be very deceiving. Whilst we look at this dirt road, as simple as it is, it appears very pale whitish. In 2024, and what time was it? Well, it's many months ago now, but in 2024, when a stranger drove down here, the dirt road was clearly brown. And yet on the satellite imagery, it's white. Yeah, it's the same road and texture, it just appears different in colour. So with looks being deceiving, when trying to apply it here on satellite to find a burn pit or where fire could take place, just wouldn't be practical or possible because one, this is more up-to-date imagery, so less relevant to the night or day of the party back in 2023. And secondly, the looks being deceiving, an area where it looks kind of lightish could well be darker and could be the spot, but you wouldn't be able to tell because they look too different. That's why it was good that we had some of the party footage to look at the background with. Now, as for the timeline of when something could have happened, right? I know I haven't got the markers on, but let's say around 3:30, that is when Noah walks outside of the house to catch his breath, fresh air, take some time out, walking away. What direction? Supposedly seen walking that way towards the highway, but why then? And how far down did he make it? Either way, he didn't make it back to the house, did he? So he could have bumped into somebody or some people. If we're basing it off a murder scenario, killed on the spot or taken aside elsewhere out of sight, who knows, and then disposed of at the highway further down north, down this way, roughly in this area, dumped on the side, the left-hand side, as traffic would come on down south towards Tyrrell. Opposite, across, you got that pond there. Now it is fenced off, you can clearly see. I don't know if it's just wire or barbed wire. There appears to be a building over there, but I don't know if that's a building or an RV trailer. You can clearly see that pond water over that way. You could chuck something in there and dispose of it if you really wanted to. But then again, you'd probably do more than that, just with besides the hat. See, this is the thing. The shorts are quite important, aren't they? Key piece of evidence, and if it ties in with recorded footage of foul play, of shorts being removed, replaced, for him to not be completely disposed of is interesting. See, this is the thing. The hat missing. Noah's other Adidas shoe missing. Noah's wallet missing. Noah's shirt basically missing, not returned back to the family. Noah's shorts returned successfully in the end. But what process did they go through? They were supposedly washed. Partners in True Crime said they saw the black shorts and they were damaged, ripped. Why? Why would they be ripped or damaged? I'm just surprised not as many people go into depth with that. I'll have to do a separate video about it maybe someday. So there's that to take in mind. Shorts being very critical, and with what Caden saw to what Tyler saw later, contrast, middleman in between, supposed hidden recorded footage, tampering, shorts being removed, replaced. Where were they taken to, those black shorts? Because they weren't immediately returned back to Dale and Presgrove or just the family in general, were they? There was a bit of a delay. So maybe washed and then held onto for a bit. But you know why I find it interesting? Because there must have been a great deal of importance to remove and replace them, but still it was okay in returning them back to the family. But no, when it comes to Noah's hat, oh no, we can't return that back to the family. As for the wallet, as for the shirt, oh no, we're not going to return that back either. Or Noah's Adidas shoe, which should either be at the scene of the highway or some of the items mainly being at the party house. If Noah made it down to the party house on a Sunday wearing a shirt with a baseball cap, with his wallet and his 2 Adidas shoes as a pair, they all made it down to the party. Noah came in peace but left in pieces. That's what it comes across as. Okay, at the highway, what remained with Noah? The chain, to an extent, because it was broken. Full chain, who knows? A shoe of Noah's Adidas. As for the other, you'd think still at the party house. If Noah was to leave the house at some point, around 3:30, not completely leave the property then, but to walk about, maybe requiring footwear to do so. Possibly can't find his other Adidas shoe, so puts on another one for the sake of it. Who knows? It depends, right? And being drunk too, maybe you don't really care or take much notice of it. Nevertheless, possibly walking about, and then, you know, the shoe, the one which Noah couldn't find, you'd think at the party, because Noah made it down with those shoes, so they should remain there. If he's not leaving with them, they should remain on site. As for the hat, for most part of the footage, Noah was wearing the hat most of the time. Might be the odd bit of footage you saw with him without it, but he seemed to wear it often. At what point did he lose his hat? Was it in the side-by-side rollover? As it tipped over, his hat fell off and he didn't bother picking it back up. As for his sunglasses, what happened to them? Were they just left aside? At one point in the party footage, Noah had the sunglasses on his baseball cap. They could come as a pair, an item, together. But they would have fallen off at some point if the hat did too. So it just seems like that there are missing items, possible evidence, which, if they're not at the highway, they have to be at the party house, or at least were up to a certain point. And then whoever present at the party house, taking it upon themselves to move things about? Now, I know Caden Pressey hasn't mentioned it, but it'd be interesting to know, does Caden Pressey know or remember seeing any clothing laying about, any shoes left behind, even if it was the odd one? At the time of when Caden Pressey said he was looking about 2 to 5 minutes for his own missing Hey Dude shoe, which he later found on Noah at the highway. Whilst Caden was searching about the house for his shoe, did he notice any remaining shoe, an Adidas one, Noah's? No mention of that. Not that you can expect people to remember everything, but I just wanted to put it into play. So the missing items left behind at the party house whilst Noah's at the highway, once people have done what they've done, and returning back possibly, if they haven't already disposed of items along the way, the highway, or even at the pond area here, maybe making it back to the party house where you got the surrounding land and area and thinking, right, let's burn the rest of the items, let's dispose of them. Now, other things of interest, here, very patchy in colour, looks to be a bit of a mound. This bit here, I'm guessing is water, even though it looks very murky, muddy. Correct me if I'm wrong if it's not water, but that's how it comes across as. Looks like there is cattle nearby, maybe they drink from it, but it doesn't look too healthy. And then this bit here, is this water too? Was it during a flood? Is it because the ground dips a bit? Hard to tell because of the colouring. It looks very murky and patchy and muddy. Could just be a muddy puddle, a flood, or if it's used for other things. Sometimes when it comes to rural areas, they might have a burn pit, a gathering point where when they need to get rid of items, resources, burn it off, break it down, dispose of, they might have a designated spot, could be a mound. It just reminds me to the Dylan Rounds case. That's what happened there in Lucin, Utah, at the grain shed property. 200 yards away from the shed, there was a burn pit, which then turned into a dirt mound because they had to stop burning things for whatever reason in the past, but still, it was used at some point. It just so happened that the dirt mound, once a burn pit, was where some key evidence was found hidden behind the mound. That Brenner put Dylan's own shoes, boots there. A little bit odd, kind of out of sight, but still in the open. No attempt to bury, no attempt to burn. But there was a burn barrel on site where there's things burn inside of it. At what point, who knows? But there's opportunities to get rid of evidence, to destroy it. Would the same have happened here? Because if there's some items which belong to Noah and they're nowhere to be seen, they've got to be somewhere, or something must have happened to them. And if they can never be retrieved, likely destroyed. But why? And it's not just Noah's own clothing or items. Any of the other party goers, did they destroy, get rid, dispose, clean of any of their clothing? Right? That's another consideration to put into mind. Let me know if there's any areas you've picked up on around here where the fire could have taken place, the one what we saw in that photo. Now, that particular fire may not be after the death of Noah, it could well be before. But another fire could have taken place later. It's pretty easy, it's possible. And as for the aim of burning stuff, a different reason to do so. So yeah, after the disposing of Noah Presgrove, based off that theory and concept, possibly returning back to the house, at some point maybe setting up a fire to burn other items. Could that coincide with Jack Newton's hat being messed with, put into the flames? Who knows? Sometimes it might be easier to just burn and destroy items than it is to wash and try and clean them if they're stained. As for the amount of blood loss from Noah, where did the rest of the blood go to? And how much of that blood was collected onto other people if they were present around Noah's death? You get blood imprints on your hands, on your shirts, on your trousers if you're very close to the body. It just so happened that James Brenner in the Dylan Rounds case, captured on a time-lapse video, he had all blood on his hands, arms and shirt. His shirt, later found by police in his trailer. He didn't even make an attempt to get rid of it. Very reckless, but it still had all blood on. Did he try cleaning it? From the looks of it, no. If he did clean it, would it have been successful? Not guaranteed. So sometimes disposing and destroying it can work. Now, why no attempt made to destroy the black shorts then? If other items were disposed of, hidden, why weren't the shorts? Is it because people would think it'd be too obvious if they couldn't find them, and then it'd be turned into something when it's not? But, you know, for damage to be done to the shorts, something significant must have happened for that damage to occur. Now, could you get damage ripped shorts from some kind of hit and run? Yeah, possibly. But if it is a hit and run, there'd be no need to replace those black shorts with white ones, would there? Unless the hit and run was caused by some people within or those connected with those on the outside. But still, it has been ruled out a hit and run. But I like to make reference to it just for that balance sake. So, any other areas of interest here, we can always point out. But it's interesting seeing new photos along the way. More possible water here, patchy, the ground. Maybe I do a poll on my channel if I get time. Do you think any evidence items were destroyed of? And that could apply to buried, burnt, submerged in water. Be sure to vote when the poll comes around. But I think we'll leave it there for now. Hopefully you found this video and a theory-based one interesting. Feel free to like and hit the share button so more people see it, to spread that awareness. Theories are important, despite what others say, and they can be reinforced with time if more evidence comes about. So I'll see you next time. We'll see what happens next. Goodbye. Good night for now.